Hello and welcome to Needing a Meeting. My name is Carol and I will be your host today. How's everybody doing? Anybody here? I see one person. Hello, whoever you are. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. I didn't know if anybody would be attending today or not. I've kind of been thinking about maybe taking weekends off. Hadn't made any hard, fast decisions on it. I've almost even put up a poll to see, how people would feel about it. You know, is it part of a necessary part of your weekend, or is it, anyway, I just was wondering. And anyway, hi. Me, myself, and I. Never a meeting is me, myself, and I. That's when that was a meeting, that was a bad thing. I used to call it the committee that lived in my head. That was never a good meeting. I know you are, but what am I? Ah, anyway, hello. Howdy. Hey, Kim. How are you? Good to see ya. So yeah, that's kind of something I've been mulling over for a few weeks. Hey, Zelda. Good to see you. Right on. So nobody's here yet except me. I'm here. You're here. I'm the only one in the visual room, though. So anyway, it is what it is. Oh, I forgot to turn my little light on that takes the shadow off of this side of my face, like so. There. That better? So this morning, I almost thought we lost the baby goats. The yard has better grass in it than the barn lot. And hey, Henny. Hi. Thank you for being here. Hi, Ms. D. You here? Thought I saw. Okay, but anyway, so I brought the mama into the yard because the grass is so much better and it's really tall and we actually need to mow. And the barn lot grass is just really just weedy and short. And so I thought, let mama eat good for a little while. The baby's small enough now that they aren't real exploratory yet. So they'll kind of stick close to mama. So that's how we get away with that. But then, I mean, they're only 3 days old. Then they decided to hide. And they went behind our shop, the clever little things, behind a stack of tires. Two little black little goats behind black tires. Oh my goodness, I just didn't know if we were gonna find them. I'm like, "What am I gonna do?" But we found them. That was my big drama for the day. Thank goodness. And I do a visit. I need to go to Walmart and see if I can get him Donkey a big bouncing ball. I don't know if I'll be able to find a rubber chicken there or not, but she brought up a great point that maybe he's just bored and just trying to alleviate his boredom. That is a very real possibility. He's a smart little guy.
I'm sure you'll find a rubber chicken if you go to Walmart.
Okay. Right on.
Actually, one of
People
those
like
great
to
big
annoy
yoga
us.
balls might work well too for him to kick
Yeah.
around.
What a great big what?
Yoga
The
ball?
yoga balls.
It's a ball you sit
Oh,
on.
okay. Huh.
Because they're stronger.
Mhm.
Yeah, he could probably do one of those little bouncy balls those lightweight bouncy balls in real quick if he was so inclined.
Yeah. If you get a large enough one, it could be like 2.5, 3 feet diameter. So it's not something he'll be able to step on.
Hmm. Do they come in different weights?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll find them, well, at least in Canada, you find them in the sporting goods section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also have an Academy Sports.
Mm.
So yeah, I could check it out there. Now, does the yoga ball that's the one without the handle, right? It's just
Right.
the pure ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
The same kind they use in birthing classes.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't know they did that. See, in my day, we didn't have that. 32
Yeah.
years ago.
Well, my girls
Back
are
in my
24 and
day.
25 now, so yeah.
I actually am old enough to have forgotten how old I am.
Oh, please.
I thought that was not a thing, that people were just making that up. It's a thing.
How old are you?
I am 58 and I'm going to be 59 this year. And all this whole year, I've been thinking I'm 57. So I was 57 2 years in a row.
Hey, I lost a couple of years between COVID and sleeping all year from a mental breakdown. Yeah, I'm younger
Oh,
than I look.
wow.
Yeah.
Was that brought on by anything in particular, or you
Yeah, it
might?
was brought on by a bullying incident at work. It was like 6 months
Oh,
of having like being fired, held over my head, having to do jobs that nobody else in my department had to do, things like that. Just my boss was bullying me. And
wow.
basically, he made me think that I couldn't teach. Whereas all of my students, all of my coworkers, anybody you talk to tells me still that I'm an excellent teacher.
Yeah.
I can't hold down a teaching job because I can't handle the idea of prepping a class or having to do evaluations. Those are the two big things that
Okay.
just aren't working. And so my psychiatrist, who also happens to be Crystal's psychiatrist, has written me extensive notes saying that I am now permanently disabled because of
Okay.
not being able to work in general. Like if I was to work at Walmart, I wouldn't be able to work in any capacity where I would have to do any paperwork or counting money.
Really?
Basically, that's every stinking job there, right?
Okay.
Oh,
Right.
you can work freight.
Anyway,
Has that always been an issue, or has it been a recent thing?
the money thing is not recent. Just
Okay.
growing up with none kind of made it a bit of a trigger point. And the fact that
Okay.
I trigger so easily on certain things
Mhm.
makes it just that much more of a trigger point.
Okay.
But yeah.
When I took a test to see to verify whether or not I had a learning disability when I was going to community college in my 30s,
Hmm.
when it got to the math portion, I broke down into just meltdown tears. It
Hmm.
was such a trauma thing
Yeah.
because I had so much trouble in school,
Hmm.
and nobody could help me get past the whatever was the problem, the processing glitch that was not verified until decades later,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so I get it.
When I went to college, I started when I was 31. Uh, yeah, I was 31, and I had just been diagnosed with bipolar for a year and a half, maybe 2 years by then.
Mhm.
And so my meds were still a bit in flux. I didn't yet have anti-anxiety medication. We didn't know about certain things yet.
Right.
And I knew that memorization on one of the medications that I was on was absolutely impossible. And it was a
Okay.
side effect, and I had no idea.
Oh.
So I talked to my psychiatrist about it. She's like, "Well, why didn't you talk to me about this earlier?" I'm like, "Pfft, I thought it was just baby brain sticking there." My girls were only 2 and 3 years old. So like
Ah,
they were really little.
yeah.
So yeah. So I would have panic attacks anytime I had to memorize anything. So I could like we'd
Right.
have to memorize large chunks of scripture.
Yeah.
And then I would be able to write
Oh
down the
boy.
entire gist. I'd be able to paraphrase it beautifully. I could
Yeah.
tell you exactly what it was beautifully, and
Yeah.
would know exactly where we were looking. but I couldn't do it word for word. And so I would
Okay.
get great grades on being able to paraphrase, but the teacher's like, I just can't mark you as the same as if you were doing it word for word, because there's a lot of people, well, almost everybody else does. And I'm like, yep, that totally makes sense. He's like, but you do need to know that I recognize your skill at being able to understand. And I know you're reading it and I know you're understanding it because of
Yeah.
how you're putting it back.
Okay.
So the mental illness was recognized, understood, and accommodated for a lot of times when I was in college. It was great.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
I ended up,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Oh,
Well,
I
I
was just
ended
going
up
to say that.
over,
You. You.
I ended up with about 2.4, 2.8. I don't remember exactly what grade point average
Yeah.
over like all 4 years. And I was really disappointed that it wasn't like 3 or higher. And and the teachers are like, I'm shocked that you got more than a 2. Just the fact that you're there, full-time parenting, full-time schooling, your husband is gone working a lot. The fact that you could do anything was a miracle. So I have to say I was really grateful for that type of input. And then
Yeah.
I became a teacher and I taught for a lot of years until this new manager decided that I wasn't needed, or he needed maybe to test out a theory, because apparently since me, he's used it on a few other people.
Oh.
So, but because it was under the guise of discipline at work, um,
Oh.
yeah, I wasn't able to apply for workers' compensation for the PTSD that it left me with. And so, yeah, like debilitating PTSD because of it. So, yeah, there was no recourse. If I wanted to have any sort of not wrongful termination, but I can't remember the word, the workplace harassment kind of thing, suit filed, I had to do that within the first 6 months of having left. I was
Okay.
asleep for 12 months. There's no way I could have done anything within 6. So I kind of fell through the
Mm,
cracks there.
that's a shame. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. It's interesting that bullies grow up to be bullies and then they end up being somebody's boss, and that happens a lot.
Absolutely.
It
Yeah.
happens a whole lot.
because they bully their way to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although my work bullies are just too damn old. And one used to be a politician, so
Oh, really?
yeah.
I had no idea.
So what is the dynamic at play there that makes it to where you can handle them?
I try and avoid them as much as I can.
Fair.
The one that I call a dirty old man, using that word man loosely because men don't act that way.
Yeah.
I have now given management a second written,
Okay.
and in this one I told him point blank, if this continued to happen, I would go to HR. And
Yeah.
he and my manager actually took it to HR. So HR is informed.
Okay.
The guy says, "Oh, well, I'm just standing by the washroom getting ready for my day at work." And he explains things away or says that, "Oh, well, he wasn't doing that,"
Mhm.
and because it falls in that gray area, there's not much I can do except for continually. But I also know that Walmart as a whole takes harassment very seriously.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
And even though my manager had talked to this guy, he told me, he says, "I'll check back in with you another time." And he knows that, like, I go to him about anything.
Stand anywhere, but you're standing by the washroom.
Yeah.
Anybody that has a lick of sense can know that that's just creepy as hell.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and the thing is, I suffer stress-induced IBS
What is the
and
IBS?
irritable bowel syndrome.
Oh, okay.
So getting the shits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So when I go to the bathroom, especially when I go first thing in the morning at work, it's because I'm stressed. I've already gone once at home.
yeah,
And if I'm having an attack, I'm in that washroom. And I'm not one to sit there and quickly go and then get up and then go back if I have to again. I'll stay in the washroom for 15, 20 minutes until I know that, okay, the worst of this is past.
yeah,
I'm not going to have to come back.
yeah, yeah.
And he's made snide comments to me just under his
Oh,
breath.
yeah.
And
And you put that in the report, right?
I just said it creeps me out.
Okay. But
And
the snide comments are a big deal.
yeah,
Yeah, you
That's
should have
but
put those in there.
yeah.
if I have to continually say anything, then I will.
I
That
mean, nobody
I
should
think
be
I
watching
have.
anybody else's bathroom habits at
Yeah.
work. At
Well, the
work.
thing is, he doesn't start until 6 o'clock in the morning. I start at 5. He is at work with. He's already got his work cart. He's already got his work handheld at 20 after 5. He should not be getting those tools until after he swipes in at 6.
Okay.
And so he's already looking at the handheld while he's standing close to the washroom.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
And it's just, go in your fucking little hole. Oh,
It's okay.
sorry. It's automatic now.
It's understandable.
You know, I
Sometimes
mean, I would probably be the one to get in trouble because I'd say something more than likely. I'd say something really mean.
the thing
Yeah.
is, I was having to deal with a female that was doing harassing things that I felt were harassing.
Yeah.
And once I started really talking to management about it and getting on it, and I had given him a couple of writtens about what she was doing. And we have a room that's called a quiet room. And mainly all it is a little tiny room that has a desk and a couple of chairs in it.
Okay.
And they use it for interviews or other things, but it's also a place, because I'm on the sales floor now, that I can go if I need time to just de-stress. So
Okay.
I'm not having to go into the bathroom, which I've
Yeah.
done sometimes too. And of course, that makes it look like I'm spending all my time in the washroom. But I started going in there to have my lunch because she was in the lounge at the same time I was supposed to be in there
Mm.
for my lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't handle being around her negativity.
Yeah.
And she would actually watch me go into the quiet, get my lunch out of my locker, and then go into the quiet room. And of course, I lock the door. And she'd sit there and rattle the handle on her way by. And saying to other associates, I thought this door was supposed to remain open all the time. And so I told our manager this, and he talked to her, and she says, oh, well, I didn't know anybody was in there. Logic states,
The door's locked.
no, logic states, if you don't know anybody is in a room, why do you even touch the doorknob? The only reason you would touch a doorknob is because you think a certain person is in there. And of course,
Yeah. Unless you're going there to go in there.
yeah, well, she
Not
wasn't.
thinking. Yeah. Yeah.
But you don't just walk past a door and jiggle the doorknob for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Did she want you in the break room where she could make you feel bad about whatever it is she
I
Let me
don't
look
know.
a bit. Okay.
A lot of them think that I get special treatment, but I have medical certification
Mhm.
and I'm not allowed to use a ladder, so I don't.
Yeah.
Can't even lift them because
Yeah.
they're over what I'm allowed to lift. I work an earlier shift that a lot of them wanted to continue working, but were told they couldn't. And supposedly that's why she quit was because she was told she had to come in for 7 to 3:30 instead of the 5 to 1:30. And they weren't budging on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a whole bunch of stupid stuff. But my manager actually kind of let something slip after I got back and found out that she was gone. And I have a feeling she was fired because he
Or,
says
or, or recommended to quit.
well, no, he said that there's a few people that are gone and you're going to hear different stories about why they're gone. And then I was in the office doing something on the computer that he was kind of having to oversee, and he's on the other computer and he says, fired, and hit a button. I'm like, okay. And I kind of
Well,
chuckled and he chuckled too. And I have a feeling it was her that he was saying that about. Because him and I talk on a personal level too.
okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, doesn't sound like that's a bad thing.
no, it was a very good thing when she left
Mhm.
because her name is the same as my other personality's name.
Oh.
And when you're having troubles with someone with the same name and you're trying to deal with another personality, I don't often like my little one.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it was hard to deal with both at the same time and not get mad at my personality because of the anger towards this other one.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
It's
it's a
hard
good
to
thing she's
keep them
gone.
separate, isn't it? Because it's all the
Yeah.
same name.
Yeah.
It's like how many of us have dated a Jason who was a total jerk and met a new person named Jason? It's like, oh, you're going to be a jerk, just
Oh, don't use that name.
sorry,
Sorry.
just pick a name. But
Pick
there
a
are, I
name?
know people who will do
Pick it.
that.
Pick a name? Can I really?
I would pick your brother's name, but that'd be outing him a bit. I dated her brother, one of them who abused her was my boyfriend as well. So, and
No,
he assaulted
I think
me.
I would rather pick the younger one.
Only there is that, yeah. But yeah, he assaulted me as well after we had quit dating.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Ew.
And neither of us knew that the other one had been assaulted.
Wow.
Until recently.
Yeah.
Huh.
And when Kim told me, it threw me for a loop.
Bet it did.
And I sat there thinking, okay, were there others?
Right.
I had always kind of wondered.
Automatically. Yeah.
And hearing that, yeah, there was,
Mhm.
it just sits there. And I reached out to one of my good friends and I said, how do you take that in?
Yeah.
Like I said to her, I understand that most pedophiles have 50 to 100 victims before they're ever caught. And I
Wow.
kind of wonder, like, there's cousins that are around the same age, and
Hmm.
it just, yeah, it floors me. And I know that the older one doesn't differentiate. He's abused both females and males.
Okay. Hmm.
So
For him,
it
it's a
just,
100% control thing.
yeah.
But he also says that going to jail was the best thing that ever happened to him and he turned himself around after that. So I don't know.
Yes.
I have no idea. I've had no contact with him for almost 30 years. So, yeah.
I
So do
don't
you
have
think,
any contact with him anymore, but
yeah. Do you think he really has stopped since getting out of jail?
I honestly think that yes, he has. He said that he's glad he didn't have girls because he was more the funny thing is he said he was more concerned about his sons, that if he had a girl, his son's abusing her, than
Oh,
him abusing a daughter.
okay.
Well, it
So,
makes sense because he abused his sister.
yeah.
So his brain would be going toward that.
But because he said it was a control thing,
Yeah.
he told his kids, all 4 of his boys know what he did and that he went to jail for it and why. They know why Auntie Crystal is not part of their lives and pretty much wants nothing to do with them.
Mhm.
Yeah, not that it's the kid's fault. It's 100%
No,
the dad's, but it's a ramification, right?
yeah. Well, and the kids, at least the 3 older ones, are all built kind of the same way as their dad. So they're all tall and muscular and everything else. And I don't really know about the youngest one. In the pictures I've seen, he's kind of this scrawny little thing. I don't know where he gets that from.
When you were that age, you were a scrawny little thing.
Well, Matthew, my brother wasn't
No?
when he was that age, so he always was kind of bigger.
Mm,
And so was Mom,
mhm.
my brother's wife. So she's
Oh, okay.
always been a big girl. Big girl.
Yeah. Like your
But
mom.
worse than Mom.
Ooh,
Hmm.
okay.
She actually did the bariatric surgery and lost a lot of weight. Looks really sick
Mm-hmm.
in the amount that she's lost.
Did you lose
And
it fast?
yeah,
Well, and just having that much skin and
Yeah.
nothing to support it anymore,
Mhm.
everything sags, and you do look very old.
Yeah.
and with her, she then started body shaming people who did carry extra weight.
Uh-oh.
And one of my cousins, who is
Hypocrite
also
much?
quite big,
Mm.
she actually called her out on it in a post and said, "Are you body shaming people?" And my sister-in-law's like, "No, I'm not doing that." And then, but just kept harping on people that were just a little bit overweight. And so I'm not going to deal with that.
Yeah.
If you're going to lose a bunch of weight and then start body shaming those that are bigger, I don't want anything to do with you.
Now,
So
I was that kind
I
of an ex-smoker. I was an obnoxious ex-smoker for a long time.
Mhm.
But
And
yeah,
alcoholics
that gets into a little bit too personal.
yeah. And
yeah,
alcoholics who are dry do the same thing to a lot of people. Well, you're out for an evening, you have 3 beers, the alcoholic can't have any beers, so suddenly you're an alcoholic too,
Yeah.
right? When in
yeah,
fact you have no problem with alcohol, it just happens to be that night you have 3 beer or whatever, you
Yeah.
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. It's I just she started in on me on a couple of things, and I ended up putting her in her place quite quickly. Like
Good.
she worked with geriatrics and stuff,
Oh.
and I had I had gotten so excited to get 4 yards of soil that I overdid it in getting it moved, and kind of had posted about it, and she's like, "Oh, well, you need to watch your sugars," and I fired back at her in the comments. I know what my triggers are, and I know how to deal with them. It's like, like, I don't need your questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've lived with this my whole life. But
Yeah.
she figured she had to give the medical stuff. And then when she started body shaming, I'm like, you know what? I would rather carry a little bit of extra weight and be able to function on a daily basis
Mm-hmm.
than to not take the medication I'm on
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and not be able to work and not be able to function.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
she got
As,
cut out of my
as,
life.
as if it was any of her business anyway.
No. Well, and she knows my story.
Mm.
My brother was required by law that if he saw somebody, by the third time he saw somebody, he had to disclose that he had gone to jail and why,
Okay.
and disclose everything.
Meeting somebody for the
Well, yeah, the third date. And he did. And
Okay.
she was also abused by family members,
Oh.
which surprises me that she actually stayed with him, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
He does have pretty good looks.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a good-looking guy.
6'3", built like a football player, loves to
Chiseled.
dress up cowboy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, he's a good looking guy. Always has been.
You know, I mean, if you have certain things going for it, it makes you wonder why you would, you know, need that thing to control people.
It's an internal need to control because he felt out of control because of his mom in particular.
Yep. Both mom and dad kind of controlled him because he was the oldest, and he was also a miracle child.
Okay.
He should not have lived. He stuck at their shoulders when he was being born,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, he ended up being a dry birth by the time they got him out. And he, like, his first noise when they finally got him out was just a little mew, his mom said. He just sounded like a little cat meowing. He ended up with meningitis at 2 days old. Should never have lived.
Wow.
And he's, what, 50, 53, 54, 52?
Yeah. He's my age.
6 years older than me. I'll be 46 this year. So yeah, I guess that's 52.
Yeah. Or he will be in what you said, July?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's so yeah, he's had a lot of big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
And dad wanted him to take over the farm, which he did not.
Okay.
So dad was mad at him about that, like literally angry at him for that.
Mm-hmm.
Mom made all of us do everything for her, so she was controlling of all of us. But because he was the oldest, he was supposed to toe the line and stuff.
Yeah.
And I have since found out, after the conversation I had with him, I since found out from his wife that he was also abused. He remembers mom hitting, I'm going to say trigger warning here first. He remembers mom hitting the younger of the two boys' head against the kitchen floor repeatedly.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh.
Plus, I'm sure she was abusive in all ways towards him, as well as my other brother. My other brother, the middle one, was the golden child. So.
Wow.
And if she was willing to do that to him, what would she be willing to do to the ones who weren't, right?
Yeah. Well, the middle one would pick on me until I would retaliate and scream, and then I would get the strap.
Mhm.
which was about a 3-inch leather belt.
Oh my God.
And you had to pull your pants down,
And
lay
bend over
across
so
the
the skin
bed,
was tight.
Oh. Oh.
lay across the bed, and you got hit until you stopped crying or wiggling away.
Oh my God. Mm-mm.
And then she'd say, you have 15 minutes to, you have 15 minutes to stop, to think of what you did wrong, and no more tears. And if in that 15 minutes she could tell that we had been crying, we'd get it again.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. You know, I remember when I was 6 or 7 years old, I got in trouble for putting modeling clay on a light bulb that was turned on. And I was beaten so hard with a belt all up and down my legs that, you know, I thought I was gonna die as a little 6 or 7-year-old. And then I reached a point where I wished to die. I wanted to die. Please let me just die.
Mhm.
That's how relentless it was. And yeah.
Well, and it was usually my brother and I getting strapped at the same time. So we were both in the room, and as mom's strapping me, he's sitting there taunting me, just in looks, but taunting me enough that, and mom couldn't see. And he could suck it up a lot faster than I could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he got more than me, or I got more than him.
Yeah, you know, I mean, there's a line, and a lot of parents crossed it, especially in, you know, in those days.
Mhm.
You know, and I think that you know, and the part that was even the most brutal though was that nobody came back later and said that I was still okay to be in the family. I thought I was just so, because I didn't get punished that way until that time.
Mhm.
And my brother had endured some of that, which probably contributed to who he ended up being. But no excuses. He shouldn't have been beating on a little kid either.
Yep.
But I nobody came back later, and you know, I just thought, am I going to have to leave now? Am I going to have to be on by myself on the highway? I was so abandoned that I was afraid of how I was going to make it on my own. That's how abandoned I felt in that moment. You know,
Yep.
and your little kid brain can't really process that stuff. Not really.
Yep.
But nobody ever came back and said that they still loved me, you know, and that was as devastating as the beating,
Yep.
you
Oh,
know?
mom would quite often say, I'm doing this for your own good.
Yeah.
This is hurting me more than it's hurting you.
Bull.
Mhm.
Exactly.
When I
Bull.
became a parent, I would always give my kids 3 choices. 2 of them were choices that had nothing whatsoever to do with getting a licking. They were both good, honest, you could do this or this to change whatever. Or you could choose to get a spanking, right? So there was times when my older daughter in particular, she's like, "Nope, I want a spanking." I'm like, "Okay." So I give her open hand, closed butt, but still, I mean, there was still a licking going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an entirely different thing, just trying to get their attention. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I, you know, when I was pregnant with Luke, I didn't know how I was kind of on the side of no corporal punishment.
Mhm.
But like I said, at that time, I was afraid that I would be like my brother and be an abuser. And, you know, and I'm sure my dad was in the back of my mind. He, he kinda left me for mom to raise after that. I think he scared himself because he did that out of anger and
Mhm.
just was merciless.
Mhm.
And, I know he had to have known he did damage. He had to have, you know?
Yeah. No, I only got spanked once until I blacked out. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, and though you just you carry that stuff. You whether you think about it, I seldom think about it,
Mhm. Yeah.
but, you know, I'm sure it affects me to this day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the middle brother, I know he was at least physically abusive with his kids as well as emotionally. I
Mhm.
wouldn't be surprised if he was sexually abusing them as well. But when their middle daughter was 2.5, like they got 5 kids, a boy, 2 girls, and then twin boys. When the middle daughter was 2.5, my sister-in-law kicked my brother to the curb. This is the middle one, to the curb because he would spank the 2.5-year-old so hard that his handprint was still on her butt 2.5 hours later. And that just,
I just don't think I think there's got to be better ways to deal with things than putting your hands on your kids like that.
Mhm.
yeah. Well, and his big thing was he actually told me, he says, well, the reason I picked on you is because if I wasn't picking on you, I wanted to take you to bed.
This is
Oh
your
my
middle one?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah.
And he knew he couldn't do that if mom and dad were home.
Right. That was the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he would pick on me even at church
Mhm.
Hmm.
where everybody saw it. And
Yeah.
then mom was like, you guys settle down, don't do this. It's like, okay, whatever. Never
Yeah.
stopped us. Of
Yeah.
course, we got it when we got home.
Yeah.
But I asked my dad just a number of years ago, after I had actually moved to the community I'm in now.
Mhm.
I had a talk with him and I said, did you know what was going on? And he says, well, with your brothers? And I said, no. I said, with mom. And he says, well, we were allowed to spank back then. And of course, I wanted us to be on a walk because I did not want to see his face when I said it. I said, you don't hit a kid until they stop crying. And then I turned my head to see his reaction because I didn't want to see his initial reaction. And he's just sitting there kind of bobbing his head up and down with his classic look on his face. I'm sure Kim knows exactly what I'm meaning.
I do.
And
Mm.
then I asked him, I said, was mom abusive towards you too? And he didn't say yes or no, but in the story that he shared with me, I knew that mom was abusive of him as well. He said that just after they got engaged the second time, he had got a letter from a lady he had courted when he lived in BC, because he was in the Air Force for a while. And she was writing him to find out if there was still anything between the two of them, because she had been proposed to and she wanted to make sure there was nothing between her and my dad before she accepted the proposal.
Yeah.
And he said that if that letter had come before he had proposed again to my mom, he would have pursued that lady again,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
told me right then and there, oh yeah, she was abusive of you too.
Yeah. Wow, even before they were married, huh?
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
I guess my mom's dad, was furious when my mom came home from being out in Saskatchewan, because my mom was from BC. My grandpa was furious with my mom when she came back because she had gotten re-engaged to dad. And I found out later that he wasn't mad at my mom. He didn't think my mom was good enough for my dad.
She
Wow.
wasn't, but that's okay.
No. But he's got a wonderful wife now, and she actually treats him properly.
Good.
Her dad is one of the sweetest, kindest, most gentle men I've
Isn't that
ever known.
interesting? Wow.
He's just wonderful. So yeah.
Wow. Look at that.
He's got 6 sisters and 1 brother. And he's at the close to the very end of the bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart.
Right on. Wow, we got heavy, didn't we?
We kind of
Sorry.
did, yeah. So, baby goats.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your kids and
Yeah.
their hiding practices.
Yeah. They're so cute.
Yeah.
They're at the age where they're still so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't last long. Just like with
Yeah.
human kids.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, human kids are very interesting. I had my girls only a year and 2 months apart. So like just over a year apart. And that was pre-diagnosis with a mental illness. So that period of time was extremely stressful. I
Yeah.
wish I can't explain how much I wish I had already been diagnosed and in treatment by then, because life with them, I could have enjoyed it instead of getting stressed out every second of every day, like just
Mhm.
it would have been so nice to be able to snuggle with my babies and in their bellies and all of that kind of stuff, just
Yeah.
yeah. And that's the kind of thing I didn't do enough of. I did it some, but I mean, I was also so stressed I was in bed a lot. So yeah.
Yes, both are female, and I'm gonna say they, anywhere from 2 weeks on, they can kind of get to where, no, no, I'm not gonna let you pick me up anymore. No.
And about that tone of voice, isn't it? Nah,
Yeah.
nah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how
Right.
long is it that they nurse?
I start trying to wean them. They say 6 weeks, but I go ahead and go 8 weeks.
Okay.
It's not, and sometimes in fact, the last couple of crops, I haven't even bothered trying.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Because, you can try and try and try, and it really, at the end of the day, it ends up being the mom that is
Right.
gonna do it or not. And
Yeah.
a lot of my mamas don't. I've seen
Oh.
grown-ass goats go to their moms. It's quite a sight.
Yeah, that would be.
But, yeah, I mean, you can't keep them separated forever and ever if you're
No.
gonna keep them.
Yeah.
And, I've separated for as long as a month, sometimes a little longer, just went right back to it like nothing, no
Yeah.
attempts were even made to wean them.
Yeah. Well, I nursed my older daughter till she was a year old, and it was kind of funny watching, this big pregnant belly and a little 5-month or 8-month or 10-month-old baby laying on it, nursing, right?
Yeah.
So I nursed her until she was a year old, And
Yeah.
she weaned really easily, really quickly, and went straight to a cup. She didn't want a bottle or anything like that.
Okay.
My younger daughter, I did the same thing. A year old, I went away for a weekend thinking, okay, when I come back, everything will be better, which is how I did the first one. And she immediately, nope, mom's back. Let's do this again. So I didn't worry about it,
Yeah.
because it was such a wonderful little bonding experience. I just loved it.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was just really nice to be able to have that time with her. So I
Yeah.
wasn't that worried about weaning, because like with the first one I had to wean because 2 months later I was having a baby.
Yeah.
So the second time I didn't have to worry about that.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know people now that will tandem feed toddler and newborn.
Oh wow.
What's
Yeah.
that mean? What's that mean? What's
Tandem feed?
Yeah.
They'll continue to nurse their older child up to 3-4 years old, and if there's a younger sibling, they will feed that one as well.
Wow.
And from what I've heard, when you're doing tandem feeding, both
Oh,
children,
shoot. Sorry, you guys.
both children actually get different
They do.
formulas of milk. Uh-oh.
Somebody's in trouble.
She's screaming at Jet.
Yeah. Oh, I hope the animals are all okay. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh, Kristen Melinda's feeling rough today. Being the only parent around for the active kiddo, absolutely. Spouse is not home much. I know women handle more, but I struggle. Kristen, I totally get it. My husband would be gone for 6 or 8 weeks at a time with his job. And I had 2 little kids at home. And it's really difficult because he'll be gone for an amount of time that you kind of get into a flow after about a week or so. And then when they come home, they want to be parenting at the same level as well. So that really makes it tough. So I will look at any single mom and say, bow down to you, because it is a hard job. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
I get that one for sure. Yeah. Stasia, how many children do you have? Do you just have the one little boy? Kristen, absolutely. Yes, when he gets back, he's definitely in the way. It's like, okay, honey, we got this. Don't worry about it. We're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bring in the money, you take care of the snow in the yard. So, yeah. Okay, so Stasia has 2, Kristen has 1. Okay. Yeah, that's just it's a challenge having to parent on your own. And then, yeah, when they come back, you got to just say, okay, fine, I'll take you. Good thing for me is my guy's a good guy, so, you know. Oh, no. Okay, so 13-year-old girl with her dad in Ontario. She didn't like her ex, so I lost years with her. Oh, that is so rough. That is so rough.
Why does he always wait until the meeting to act out?
Because he's a man. Yeah,
To what?
because he's a man.
Ah.
Yeah.
Good explanation as any.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
he's, I've been keeping a close eye on him, and he's been doing really good until the meeting. And then he has to,
Yeah.
What happened?
he was chasing the goats. And when he chases the goats, he's
Oh,
going to catch one. And he had Monique by the neck, lifting her up by the neck.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
he's just like
So
using them like a plaything, or what's?
maybe, he was, he did that when I changed him out from the boys being in there with him. The boys, he can't get anybody separate. They move in a little unit. The girls, not so much. They're a lot more independent. And so
Yeah.
he can get somebody separated from him. And that's the one he goes after, is the first one that'll get separated from him from the whole group, and the boys just they stubbornly stick to their little cluster.
Well, yeah.
So he never could really get hold of anybody with them. And I thought maybe it was just the change in dynamic because, after a few days he settled down and they were doing good. But now we've had a mother give birth, and I'm wondering if that has something to do with it. Because my dad always used to tell me that, horses will, if they're in the field with a baby lamb, the smell of blood just makes them go crazy, and they'll just toss a baby lamb up and kill them.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
so
I've
I'm
never
real
heard
worried
that.
about what I'm going to do about these little guys. I may end up having to sell the mom with the babies.
Mm-hmm.
That way, I don't have
get
to.
that boy some toys.
Yeah, yeah, for real. I mean, that's that was a good point. I think it's a little bit more going on there than boredom, but
Yeah, but
that
maybe
could
the
be
toys
some of it.
will take his
Maybe.
mind away from
Yeah,
going
Well,
after the
exactly.
living stuff.
yeah,
And I know with certain breeds of dogs, they really like squeaky toys. So a little baby
yeah,
squeaks. So they will sit and try to play with the baby until the baby's really hurt. So it's
yeah,
not like they're trying to do anything mean. They're trying to
yeah,
just play. And I'm wondering if maybe that girl goat squeaking or bleating might be a trigger for him to want to, oh, let's go play with this.
yeah,
So
maybe
rubber
so.
chicken
So
might be
maybe I
enough
ought not
to.
get him a squeaky toy then.
Well, no, get him a squeaky toy so he's
Okay.
not after the goats. Get him something he's allowed to. He'll get used to
Mm,
whatever this is, and
right.
get like a dozen of them and only show him one at a time. Just so if he does wreck one of them, you've got another one available that he's
Yeah,
allowed to play with.
right.
And he might learn that these squeaky things are not okay. These ones are.
Yeah.
Get them rubber chickens.
My husband was just, he didn't tell me he was going anywhere today. Maybe I can get him to
Mm,
stop on the way home and get something.
yeah. But Kristen is just saying it's probably some kind of dominance thing as well. Yeah.
It
And
is.
you're probably right.
Yeah.
It
There
is.
is a dominance thing going on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may end up having to sell him too, but since I've had him in that pasture, it's the pasture that the chickens hang out in. I've not lost nearly as many chickens.
Mm.
In fact, I've
Mhm.
hardly lost any.
Nice.
And I was losing a lot just
Oh,
before I got
wow.
him.
Okay.
What
So
was
So
taking the
easier.
chickens?
I don't know. I don't know if it's raccoons or skunks or I
Oh,
don't think a coyote could get close enough without the dogs going berserk.
Mhm.
In fact, one of the dogs could jump the fence and get to it,
Mm. Mhm.
before she got hit by the car. Uh,
Ooh, whoops.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
hmm.
so yeah, I don't, or it could have been a hawk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or an owl.
Yeah.
There was an owl in our community that was old, and I don't know if he was losing his mind or he just couldn't catch things, but um, we were on a walk with my daughter. She was about 6 or 7 years old, so she was really little, and our dog was a little white Bichon, and the owl came and grabbed the Bichon while he was on a leash with my daughter
Oh
and tried to
no.
take off with the dog, just and we of course got rid of the owl, but the dog was totally freaked out. My daughter was completely traumatized. And when we spoke with some animal specialists, like bird specialists and such, they're like, yeah, no, that owl was obviously sick because otherwise they never would have gone for something like that. There's no
Mm,
way. They would have
okay.
been
No,
totally scared off.
Huh.
So
especially with a human there.
Was the
precisely.
dog injured?
Yeah, yeah. He had some holes in the skin. Didn't
Yeah.
puncture the flesh, but like the holes were in the skin.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Henny, good to see you. Thank you. Huzzah. Yeah.
Huzzah.
So I don't really want to get rid of him, but I am wondering if getting him fixed would help. But I'm either going to have to borrow or rent a stock trailer, or
Mhm.
my husband's gonna have to finish the one that he's making.
Mhm.
He's putting one together that, it's similar to one that my cousin made, with, those cages that are around those big water containers,
Yep.
and he has a friend that's a real good welder that welded 2 of them of those together.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and we've got a trailer that we can put it on, and, anyway, it's discouraging, you know?
Mhm.
So why is it that you haven't had him, fixed?
Getting him there to the vet.
Oh,
My
okay.
Yeah, my neighbor kindly offered to take his own stock trailer and truck to get the
Right.
donkey for me, but I can't ask him to do that every time I need to go to the vet with something,
No.
and
No.
it's a big stock trailer too. I only need one of those little bitty like one horse
Yeah, a
trailers,
single horse. Yeah, not
Yeah,
something for, like, a herd of pigs. I don't know what you call a group of pigs, but
A
yeah.
herd.
Is it a
yeah,
herd?
I guess so.
That's what we
Okay.
called it.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, Kristen, it's called the Donkey
Oh,
Sanctuary. I'll look that up.
yeah.
He was around cows and goats where he came from, so I thought he'd
Maybe
been
he's just the biggest thing in the yard.
maybe so.
Like, if
Yeah,
he was
Your
around cows.
your goats are the miniature goats, aren't they?
yeah, they're Nigerian dwarf,
Yeah.
but they'd still
And
be smaller than him.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, any goat generally would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it
Okay.
would. And
Yeah.
Nigerian dwarf are not tiny,
No.
you know, so
Yeah.
they are when they're born. I mean, little
Yeah.
bitty, you guys saw the little bitty guy.
I can't imagine how soft their hair is, just like this. Oh,
Yeah, it
yeah.
is.
So in comparison to a sheep, what's the size of
About the same.
goat? About the same?
And it also depends on the breed of sheep, but,
Yeah.
sheep and goats are similar in size, and so the
Okay.
Nigerian is slightly smaller, and that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause my uncle had sheep, and so I
Yeah.
kind of remember the size of them. So that's
Yeah.
why I'm kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, they're similar, in size.
Kristen mentioned a few comments ago that her brother and his partner got llamas to scare off predators from their sheep and horses.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, yeah, that's an interesting thought. Again,
It
it's
is.
something that would be the same size or bigger than your
Mhm.
donkey,
Yeah.
so it could be that something like that might be handy. I have no idea how many more animals you wanna get. I'm sitting here solving your problems for you, adding more
Well,
things to your life.
I am gonna run out of places in the barn, but if I do end up having to get rid of him because I just can't have that behavior going.
No,
no.
no.
I just can't.
Yeah.
And I had not really given up on getting him a little girlfriend and having a little baby donkey,
Mhm.
but
And again, maybe if
I'm giving up on it pretty fast.
well, again, maybe if there was somebody his size, like a female donkey,
Yeah,
it may help his demeanor, might
yeah.
help his, behavior a bit.
And now any new animal that I bring in, it's a risk. Will he be
Yes.
okay with it or will he not?
Yeah.
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 So because he moved, he is trying to establish his place in the animal hierarchy. Well, I mean, he
Yeah.
has to know he's got nothing to prove. They run.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just more
You're right, Kristen.
animals. That'll do
Let's
it.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
let's have more kids. Just the first
Yeah.
13 aren't enough. Let's just do some more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Maybe the first thing to try is getting them fixed and
Yeah.
see if that works.
Yeah.
Does your vet not do house calls?
I've heard that he does, but I haven't looked into it lately. And when I first started getting my animals, that was my understanding, is that he does. But
I
like I
haven't met a
said,
large animal vet who doesn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that might be the way I have to do it. I don't know if they'll do a procedure like that on a
They
house.
should be
My
able to.
father-in-law was a vet for many, 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 many years. And
Okay.
he did surgery in like on site in barns and whatever all the time. So
Okay.
they do have the equipment available in order to be
Yeah.
able to do it safely, sterilely, all of that stuff. So it doesn't have to be done on like an operating table or a hospital type environment. It's a
Okay.
little different when it comes to animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll ask about that, because we might just have to bite that bullet and shell that
Mhm.
money out, because it's not cheap, but it's okay. It's
No.
cheaper than a stock trailer.
That and there was another apparatus. I have no idea how painful it would be, but it's a little elastic band, like a really thick elastic band about the diameter of the end of this pen. Okay, so just a little guy. And a like a plier or something like that that would stretch it wide open, and then they would put it on the scrotum, and it would squeeze the scrotum to the point that there would be no blood flow, and then they would just fall off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have no idea how painful that would be, though.
I don't think that it could be done on a donkey, just the way that,
Okay,
yeah,
I
it's
don't know the anatomy.
yeah, the anatomy is quite different.
Okay.
In a goat or a sheep or a cow, the part that gets banded is back here and the other part's here.
Mm.
The donkey is a complete unit thing.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Mhm.
wow. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, that's different.
So,
Okay. See, I'm learning so much more about donkeys than I ever thought I would wanna know.
right?
Yeah. Educational TV. Who said it didn't exist?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many different types of animals did your family have, Crystal?
Well, of course, we had the dogs and the cats,
Mhm.
one dog at a time, multiple
Mhm.
cats at a time. We also had chickens. We raised rabbits for meat as well.
Mhm.
We had pigs. We had horses. Just 3. A
Okay.
mare and her stallion and her little mare.
Mhm.
And yes, our stallion stayed intact the whole time he was with us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Beautiful, beautiful temperament though.
Right
Oh,
on.
nice.
And then after I left and went to school, Dad, they call it crop sharing
Mhm.
or something along that line, where he rented some cows from one of my cousins, and you raise them. When they have their babies, part of the babies go back to my cousin, and then Dad keeps 1 or 2, I think it was.
Okay.
And those ones are actually his to keep. And then you slowly build your herd that way.
Okay.
So,
Mhm.
Huh, I hadn't heard of that, but that's neat. I like that.
Mhm.
yeah.
I think
It's
it's a
how
really
a
old
lot of people did that up in that area.
and I think it's one of those more old style, old farmer 100 years ago practices because not a lot of people had a lot of money, right? In the early 1900s and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, what do you
Yeah.
guys think? Has it been a meeting?
I
Yep.
think it may have been a meeting and a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, sorry.
I hadn't thought about that in a long time. And, I mean, it's good to air out every once in a while,
It is.
and
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
I've only been able to process the stuff that my mom did
Okay.
since after she passed away.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
That's only a few
before
years
that,
now, though.
no. Like she passed in 2010,
Oh,
and I
wow.
was
Mm,
yeah, and I was just kind of learning some of it before she passed.
Mm,
And I didn't talk to her for the last 2 years of her life
mhm.
because I was starting to remember some of the stuff. And
Mhm.
she was even controlling up until the time I cut ties.
Mhm. I'm probably
So,
trying even thereafter.
well, she tried once and left a message on my answering machine, and I wrote her a second letter saying, no, that's not part of the agreement.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Monique, I am so proud of you. I'm so glad you had a good time. Thank you for taking me along. Thank you for the pictures. That's amazing. That is so good. So
All right.
yeah,
Well,
I want to go out there and kind of enforce my presence, like just be standing there. I do
mhm.
this little stompy thing where I show, you know,
You're dominant.
F around
Yeah,
and find out kind of.
absolutely. Yeah. That's you are the dominant animal in the yard, and so you should be.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I may have to go out there and do my stompy walk.
listen here, buddy.
Bells on his collar or something like that, so you know where he is at all times. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a collar on him. I don't
Oh, there you go.
yeah, probably as much as he's in the woods and things like that, probably not
Mm,
great to have a collar.
okay.
Yeah. I've never seen anybody put a collar on them
Okay.
because
I
you
know
know,
nothing about raising
yeah,
mules, donkeys. I know very little about animal husbandry, just what I've been told.
right.
Yeah. See?
Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank
I
you.
wanted to I wanted to kinda see what everybody thought. I'm thinking about taking 1 day a week off, maybe a weekend day or maybe the whole weekend. Um, and I just wanna kinda everybody be thinking about whether or not you know, you need the 7 days a week at the same time, and that's part of a good consistent. Because I don't mind doing it, but my husband is wanting a little time. You know,
Yeah.
we'll start to plan we can't really plan a day, you know, and
Yeah.
so I don't know, I just thought I'd put some feelers out there and let y'all think about it and see, how you felt about maybe, 1 or 2 days a week and maybe just weekdays, then weekends.
Honestly, I would suggest for balance for your marriage, it's probably best to take a couple of days off.
Yeah,
You know, like my
yeah,
husband feels the same way. He doesn't like that I do my show in the evenings when he's
yeah,
home from work. It's like, okay, honey, guess what though? That's when other people are home from work too,
yeah,
you know, and that's
yeah.
why I do it in the evenings. But
Right
yeah,
on,
no, I
Kristen.
would absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, if I weren't married, it wouldn't be as big a deal, but, you know,
Well,
I
no.
am, and he really does get discouraged some days because he wants to start these projects that he and I can do together, and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
we just barely get going, and then it would be time for me to stop and do the meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if I had 1 or 2 days where I just I'm full on his to do we can do whatever you had planned. I think it would I think he it would, I think it would help him not be as discouraged as I think he is right now.
I think you're exactly right. And if we don't keep our partner as our priority, um, that like I said, it loses balance because I mean you've chosen that partner to be your priority, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, yeah, marriage
Yeah.
is one thing I'm actually pretty good at. So
Right on.
yeah,
Right on.
helps that I have a really good partner.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I'm good at it, and I don't know if he's good at it, but, you know, it seems to work some kinda weird way.
That's right. And as long as it does, you know, it's all good.
Right on.
Anyway, I'm gonna hop off.
Okay.
Have a
Yeah.
great day.
You
We'll see you
too.
later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Good to see you, Crystal. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye.
Bye. All right, you guys, let's see what I can do out there. Nature, Mother Nature. I am surrounded by her all day long and all her quirks. It's all good though. We'll figure it out, or we won't, or we'll figure something out. I love you guys. Hope to see you again next meeting. And until then, peace, y'all.